barrel roll.
Welcome to the Know. I'm Ashley.
I'm Brian.
Hot take, everybody.
Ooh.
Could the upcoming Han Solo movie be a big bomb? Well, you know, I mean, like a bomb for a Star Wars movie or like the DC movies where everything you hear about it is people hating it and yet somehow still makes a shit ton of money.
Yeah, don't worry. Solo, a Star Wars story. It's expected to break box office records this Memorial Day weekend, making somewhere between 130 and 150 million over the 4-day weekend. So, yeah, bomb's not really the right word to use.
Okay, well, look, yes, still tons of money.
A lot of money.
What it's not a lot of money for is a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
So let's put it in perspective there. In fact, if those estimates hold true, Solo will be the least successful Star Wars movie released in this modern age.
Yeah, because it's kind of hard to compare any of the Disney era releases to the original ones. Like
The theater experience has changed.
Yes. A New Hope, for example, it made $1.5 million during its opening weekend, but release patterns were very, very different back in 1977.
Well, and that's unadjusted for inflation.
Right.
Star Wars only opened on 43 screens. Last Jedi opened on more than 4,200 screens, just to compare that a little. Even the prequels were opening on about half the screens that the average current day blockbuster does. I remember when the prequels came out, lines out the door
big time.
for the midnight screenings. Even for like the next week, it was just constant, crazy lines. Everyone trying so
Camping
hard
out.
to see the movies.
Yeah, so we got to look at the Disney era numbers, and that 130 to 150 million would make Solo the least successful of the modern ones, at least on the opening weekend. The Force Awakens, you might remember, opened to almost 248 million. Last Jedi opened to 220 million. Rogue One opened to 155 million. Even if Solo beats all current expectation, it's not likely it's going to even match Rogue One.
And there's a few reasons this could be. Star Wars fatigue.
Yep.
I mean, we went decades between Star Wars and even the prequels, and there was a long wait between the prequels and this, so maybe the new pretty much like annual release of Star Wars is getting people a little bit worn out.
Right.
Maybe Last Jedi broke Star Wars fandom on a whole.
Oh, yeah. Solo's coming out also just 5 months after the release of Last Jedi. It's the first time we've ever gotten 2 Star Wars movies back to back like that. So maybe people are a little Star Warsed out. I never thought I'd say that. The marketing for Solo really kicked into high gear while Last Jedi was still in the theater. So there wasn't really any time for Star Wars fans to, you know, take a breather and build some anticipation for the next one.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, love it or hate it, and I get it, a lot of people are not happy with
Divisive.
it. The Last Jedi did take the franchise in a very new direction, and one of the main themes was about letting go of the past to strike out into new territory, and Solo is the opposite of that. It absolutely is saying, hey, take the characters that you know and love and wrap them all up in a comfortable nostalgia blanket patched together with imagery and ideas that you love from the original trilogy. Take all these moments that you imagined happening and show them on the screen. And that might come off as kind of, you know, conflicted visions, muddy the waters a little bit for the casual moviegoer that just likes Star Wars and doesn't want to get caught up in all the minutia.
Yeah, it is also possible that audiences are just tired of prequels. Rogue One had a cool hook and that the only major returning character that we knew about going in was Darth Vader. Since Rogue One, it featured a whole new set of characters. There were dramatic stakes. You didn't know if they would all get out alive or not. If you go into a movie, though, called Solo that takes place before Star Wars, you know that Han Solo is going to make it out okay.
Yeah, and also just there seems to be kind of an overall lack of excitement for this movie, at least compared to the last 3. I would say even Rogue One had a lot more excitement going into it. Critical response has been mostly positive, but not effusive. We did our own discussion about it. We caught an early screening. You can check that out. And honestly, our reactions were kind of across the board. Some people were not happy with it. I enjoyed it, but also I like Fast and the Furious movies and crazy like Ocean's 11, and for me, like, that's a great experience. So, you know, everyone's got their own thing going on there.
Yeah, and also, fair or not, Solo, it hasn't really been able to get out of the shadow of a very troubled production. There were a lot of reshoots on Rogue One, that's true, and reports that Gareth Edwards stepped back and let Tony Gilroy reshape the movie in post. But that's still a lot different than being kicked out 2/3 of the way through production and having Ron Howard essentially reshoot most of the movie.
I mean, look, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, they're not even listed as directors in the credits. So that's how major that shift seems to have been. And really all of those things probably factor into this kind of low tracking for Solo. But one thing is for sure, interest in the movie has gone down as it got closer to release, which is unusual.
Yeah,
usually
it's
it's the opposite.
Yeah, initial tracking put the movie at $165 to $175 million for the Memorial Day weekend. A couple weeks later, and that's been revised down to $130 to $150 million. That's a big drop. So either people are losing interest or someone somewhere screwed up with that estimate a couple weeks ago.
Well, curiously, it seems like Lucasfilms already realized these character spin-offs may not be the best direction to go in, although if they're basing that purely off Solo, that would be unfortunate.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been rumors, discussions about standalone movies based on everyone from Boba Fett to Yoda to, I mean, the one that we all want.
Lando.
Say it.
Oh.
Yeah. I was thinking Obi-Wan, but Lando's cool too. So it's almost unfortunate that they would base all the future of standalones on Solo.
Give it one more shot if this doesn't work.
I still think that Obi-Wan could work.
Big time. There's also been a lot of heat surrounding Obi-Wan Kenobi series that would bring Ewan McGregor back. Yet, while they've certainly been discussing it seriously in-house, Lucasfilm, they have not said anything officially about it.
Well, and the only thing they have announced as far as spin-offs go are stories that'll be unrelated to everything we've seen before. Yeah. So kind of disconnected. Rian Johnson's working on his trilogy, which promises to explore an as-yet unexplored corner of the Star Wars galaxy. Might not even be in the same time frame as the Skywalker saga. Game of Thrones, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss are also working on a series of films that don't have any connection to the characters introduced in any of the saga films. So they're still doing a lot, but maybe not as many of these one-offs for characters we already know.
Yeah, and Star Wars, it's certainly big enough and popular enough to look backwards and forwards at the same time, but it's clear that the priority for Lucasfilm right now, new material. Based on Solo's box office predictions, maybe audiences are wanting that too.
Yeah, I mean, what everyone comes to the Solo movie so far saying is, who asked for this? But what do you think about the movie projections for Solo? Do you think it's going to be a disappointment? Do you think Deadpool is going to kick its teeth in? Are you looking forward to it? Let us know in the comments.
And for all your Star Wars news, be sure to like this video, and if you're new around here, subscribe to the know.
It's the first Star Wars movie I'm skipping.
You're going to skip?
I'm absolutely skipping.
I've got tickets to see it Saturday, I think, because we got tickets before I got the screening. We might cancel them because at this point, we've seen it, and I'm happy that we've seen it. I'm happy that I had that, but I don't know that I need to see it again that quickly.
John